Did you know 73% of all H-1Bs come from India? Did you also know that Texas has the second highest concentration of H-1B workers in the US, or how the Asian Indian population in Texas has grown to over 500,000, and in the past 5 years alone, dozens upon dozens of them have run for public office and won, including mayors, judges, and city council members, 9 of which all across the state are foreign-born, and most of the population tends to vote Democrat, not including the private businesses like the State Bank of Texas that primarily only gives loans to Indians so that they can buy properties and assets. And when they were accused of doing so, they just came out and screamed racism.
Supporters echoed her claims, accusing Indian business owners for crashing the payments, welfare misuses, and monopolizing the sectors like hotels, gas stations, trucking, and even tech jobs. Some comments went too far as alleging fake degrees, H-1B visa fraud, and job outsourcing. That the State Bank of Texas is a private institution, legally allowed to choose its business focus and operates under the US banking regulations. This backlash is not just about the legality at all. It is about the race. It's about racism. It's about Indians.
Or how about there being a huge push for more and more Indians to move to Texas and be used to leverage votes for political positions and financial incentives, while simultaneously only helping out their own people through nepotism or legal pathways to grow their own population in the state, while not fully assimilating into the culture, but rather creating Little India in every major city and even some of the smaller towns. Where even in some of the smaller towns, the high schools are seeing massive graduation numbers, with most of them being from Indian families. And with all of this, what are the great leaders of Texas doing to stop it? Oh, they're helping them. Okay. Well, I guess you can say Abbott is not standing on business. Instead, he will be first in line at the new Texas annual cow shit throwing competition. Congratulations to Greg Abbott. He will be the first official Texas poop thrower. He will be remembered throughout history. Well, let's see if the Texas GOP is doing anything about all this crazy immigration.
My home is my castle. The Fourth Amendment says the government can't come in without a warrant. Well, in 2025, your phone and your laptop hold more private papers than every drawer in your house combined. So, Texas Republican Party says the same warrant requirement applies to your digital life, period.
This dude sounds like he learned how to speak English off fucking Google Translate 5 minutes before he filmed this video.
This didn't get rich by government picking winners or losers. We got rich because any Texan with grit, a dream, and a pickup truck can build something great without begging Austin or Washington for permission or subsidy.
It's official, folks. Texas is not becoming Mexico 2.0, but rather India 2.0. And there are many reasons for this, but you may be asking, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much, Tom? Why do you give a shit so much about Texas? What's going on? Well, I'll tell you. It seems as though the entire country is completely fixated on the Somali scandal in Minnesota, which has evolved into the ICE incident with all the protests, riots, what have you. Like, the entire country is just so fixated on those issues and on what's going on there, not realizing that there are actually way more problems in the US with immigration, and how most of it is from legal pathways that are leading this country to becoming a more balkanized and bastardized version of itself, where everyday America becomes less of a nation and more of an idea, or the death of an idea. But also, Texas, like it or not, is a very important state. I don't want to boost their egos or anything, but let's be real here. They have a bigger GDP than most countries, including Canada. They are at the forefront of the tech industry. They are an aerospace and aviation hub. They're also on the cutting edge of innovation for military technology, and they have a massive defense footprint in that state. Not to mention, they hold the majority of the southern border. So like it or not, we got to call a spade a spade. Texas is important if you are an American. It is a very important state more so than a lot of other states. And I know people don't want to hear that, and I don't really like saying that too much, but it's just true. And it is being taken over on every level. Not by Mexicans, but by Indians. And the politicians on both sides are embracing that takeover. In fact, time and time again, these people take money from Indians and Pakistanis. In return, they do favors for them.
Bert, Frisco's first Indian city council member, I got a few questions for you too. Why did you use a consulting firm where the CEO was convicted of fraud? Why is one of your biggest donors an Indian in the North Texas real estate business that doesn't live in Frisco? Why is another one of your biggest donors a white resident in Dallas in real estate? Why does one of your biggest donors have 4 companies hiring H-1B employees? And why does one of your donors have 23 H-1B companies registered to one address? I'll end my questions there. We'll see if your constituents or any news outlets apply pressure and force you guys to answer these questions.
And so the reason I wanted to highlight this and I wanted to talk about this issue is because this is becoming a very big problem. The entire country has been talking about H-1Bs and how it's a big issue and how they don't like it and they're against it. Well, a big portion of that is in Texas. And the H-1B issue is one of the main reasons why so many people have been calling for remigration in America. Even everyday Americans who are not terminally online, they have their own lives, they're doing their own shit, essentially. Even them, you see those people coming out calling for remigration because it is becoming an issue. And like I said, a big portion of that is happening in Texas. And I know we talk a lot about H-1Bs, and I've mentioned it several times in this video, obviously, but the biggest problem with all of this isn't even with the H-1Bs. Like, you could honestly get rid of them and you would still have a problem. Like, a lot of these businesses that are getting loans, the state bank, all of these deals that are being cut, you know, all these different things that are going on behind closed doors with Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz, which, by the way, fuck Ted Cruz, fuck Greg Abbott, you know, like, fuck them, dude. They are obviously selling out Texans to the highest bidder. It is plain as day. And a lot of that is coming through the legal avenues. It's not coming through H-1Bs or even, you know, illegals being here. It's from people who follow the rules, or at least who use the rules and bend them so they can gain advantage. And that's essentially what it is. You see people in the tech industry, and I have several people messaging me all the time that watch my channel, and they tell me, they're like, hey, Tom, I actually work in the tech industry. I'm in Austin. I'm here. I've been doing this for X amount of years. My company, since after COVID, is basically like all Indian. And this one guy even told me in a message, he was like, this floor I work on, the majority of the people don't even speak English. And it's not all H-1Bs. A lot of it is, yes, but not all of it. That's what you get. You get these people preferring their own groups, hiring their own. Essentially, that's like what it is. You're going to have more and more of these people who don't speak English, and it's in an industry where communication is very critical, right? So what happens to all the white people when everybody starts not speaking American English? Well, the white people start getting phased out because you can't speak the language of everybody else. You can't talk with all these people and communicate properly, so you become the problem. You become the issue. So they start hiring less of you. And that's another, you know, reason, I'm sure, of why they only hire their own. And then you see all these different things outside of the tech industry with like the gas stations getting taxpayer dollars in Texas and all these different things. So a lot of the problems that we see with H-1B abuse or just abuse in general with these types of groups, a lot of it is happening in Texas. And we as a country, we as a nation, we've been pretty vocal about how we don't like any of this bullshit. It actually upsets us. Most of it is happening there. So it's, like I said, it's a very important state. And what you're going to start seeing in Texas more and more is it's going to become more like India. You're going to see more politicians getting into positions of power. And it's not just bigger cities. A lot of people would say, oh, we'll just move out of the big city, go to a smaller city. Well, they're going to the smaller cities as well. And they're taking over those cities. That's where they're becoming mayors. That's where they're getting a majority of their voters. That's where a lot of their kids are going to school. It is in the smaller cities. So they're taking over essentially the entire state. And a lot of people would say, oh, but Tom, it's only 500,000. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you would not have seen this much influence coming from these groups. You would not have seen this many people in positions of political power. A lot of these people who have run for office and have won, including the foreign-born Indians, became judges. So now you have a bunch of judges all throughout the state of Texas that are favoring their own. Now, a lot of people would say, well, there's no way you can prove that, Tom. There's no evidence that they're looking out for their own kind. And all I would have to tell you is just wait. Just wait, man. I guarantee you, 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to see plenty of examples of them doing just that. All right? And I mean, why wouldn't they? And this is not stopping. This is ramping up. Greg Abbott, all these different people, they're taking all this money, all this funding, putting these people in positions of power. And who is this favoring? Do you think this is favoring the white Texans? Do you even think this is favoring the Mexicans that live there? If you think it does, I got news for you. Trust me, it will not. Indians and Mexicans, for the most part, don't like each other, bro. It's like, I don't know if you guys fucking understand that or get that, but that's the thing. They don't like each other that much. Maybe some of them, yeah, sure, but a majority, no. So this is really kind of setting them up for positions of power, because it's not like they're just going to Texas and opening up gas stations or whatever. They're being put in positions of power legally, whether they're becoming a judge or they're joining a city council and running banks and dishing out loans. What are these loans for? These are for people to obtain assets, buy land, open businesses, and they only give loans and they only give business to their own. So you already have examples of them favoring their own kind. And why wouldn't they? They're not going there to assimilate. They're not going there to become Texan. They're not going there to become American. They're going there to create their own groups. They're going there to establish their own culture in America. And, you know, it's not just happening in Texas. I get that. It's happening all over. But Texas is a pretty good example of it because it's happening on all levels. And you have your own leaders. You know, you have your own leaders helping them. All of these fucking idiots that live in Texas that vote for Greg Abbott and love Greg Abbott and love the Republican Party, and they think, oh yeah, they represent us. They'll fight for us. It's like, motherfucker, they're literally selling you out. They're literally selling you out. I've said this several times on this channel, but when I talk about people who love voting Republican and think, oh, well, it's just a right versus left issue, and I know I use right and left all the time, the terminology, I use it all the time, but like, this isn't right and left. That isn't a thing. It's two sides of the same shekel, my friend. Like, it's all the same bullshit. Okay, you have the Democrats that are replacing you with illegals, and then you have the Republicans that are replacing you with legals, all right? They're both replacing you. And all of these idiots who love the Republican Party and the GOP, and they think that they're going to stand for you and fight for your family and your family's future, it's like, no, they've completely abandoned you. And they actually think you're retarded. They think you're an idiot. They think you're stupid enough because the way people talk about like black people when it comes to voting for Democrats, they talk about it all the time. They say, oh, well, black people are just living on the plantation, the Democrat plantation, and they're always voting for the Dems. It's like the Republican Party thinks the same way about white people, especially white men. Dude, you're just as retarded. You live on a plantation. You are a white slave to the GOP, my friend, because you think these people give a shit about you. No, they do not care. But they know you're dumb enough that you will vote for them every election cycle because who else are you going to vote for? Well, it's the lesser of two evils. I don't know, man. It's like, I gotta like vote. I don't know who else to vote for. And they know that. They know that that's where you're going to be every 4 years. So you vote for them anyways, and they still just fuck you over. And they make money doing so. They get rich. And with them getting paid and making all this money, and eventually with the population of Indians getting bigger and bigger in Texas, what are these two groups going to start doing? You think they're going to start advocating for things that make your life better? No, they're going to start fighting for the Indians. Why? Because they want their votes. What do you think is going on with the Texas GOP putting this Indian dude on their fucking front page? Because they're already trying to placate to them. They know that a majority of the Indians that are coming to Texas are going to vote Democrat, and so they are going to start trying to win them over. And a lot of people would say, well, as long as the Indians just want freedom and justice and the Second Amendment and barbecue, then it's okay, we can all get along. And it's like, that sounds all well and good, But wait until the actual cultural differences come into play. And then you're going to see the GOP. You're going to see which side they're actually going to pick. And I'll give you a spoiler alert. It's not going to be you. It's not going to be you or your family. It's going to be them. Why? Because they're getting paid. They're making money. They're doing all these deals. You think this is just happening for no reason? That's where it's going. And it's happening in Texas. And what do you see with all these leaders over there in Texas? With Greg Abbott, with Ted Cruz. What do you see them doing? I mean, Ted Cruz is leaving the state, I'm more than sure. Texas is fixing to get another cold front. So if you live there, in all honesty, as like a side note, please actually prepare, because there's a big cold front coming through there. I don't know if there's going to be snow or whatever, but when you guys get snow, you guys get fucked up, and it ends up very bad for a lot of people. And Ted Cruz loves going on his vacations when that shit's happening. He loves not helping, so he's probably gone, but that's happening in the next couple days. So if you do live there, please take care of yourself and your family. But that's a side note. But back to the main issue with the immigration is that's kind of a problem, is there really is nobody who is actually standing up for their own. There really is no actual party that is fighting for the Texan or the average American. And you could say the same thing about most states. And that's why it's incumbent upon us to kind of be vocal about these issues and to speak up for yourself, because I can assure you these people are not doing it for you. They're not looking out for you. They're not protecting you. So you see these groups like Patriot Front, they're one of them. I think they're in northern Texas. I'm sure I saw something about how they have a big group over there and they're actually creating communities, parallel systems to the government. And they're looking out for their own. They're creating their own businesses, hiring their own people, basically doing all the same things all these immigrants are doing. And from what I hear, they're doing quite well. So, more props to them. There needs to be more groups like that, not only all over Texas, but really just in every state. And I mean, the name of the game, the only way we're really going to be able to kind of fight against this, besides having these conversations, being vocal, calling for remigration, we do need to start kind of playing the same game. Because what are these people doing? How are they able to get in positions of power? How are they able to, kind of take over these communities? Well, they're just looking out for their own. And honestly, you can get mad, you can get pissed off, but it's we're just not playing the same game. It's as simple as that. White people are playing checkers. All these other people are playing chess. White people are told it's bad for you to look out for your own. It's bad for you to, nepotism is bad. You shouldn't only hire your family members. You shouldn't only look out for your own people. And it's you see it with all these different groups. They do it every single day. Hispanics do it. Indians do it. Black communities do it. And that's how they survive. That's how they thrive. That's how they actually grow. So it's time for white people to start doing the same things, whether it's Return to the Land, Patriot Front, whatever group. And, I'm going to say that somebody's going to get pissed off that I even mentioned those two groups. Somebody's going to get mad. And then there's also going to be somebody else who's going to think, see, Tom, I knew you would want to join. I'm not saying I'm joining either of those groups. I'm just saying I respect what they're doing and I like the idea. And I think there should be more of that, 100%. I've seen this so many times the past couple weeks with people talking about population dynamics in America and with how back in the day when you had a country that was majority white, you had a bunch of white people that didn't really think of race because they didn't need to, because you lived in a country where it was the majority of your own race. But as we move further into this melting pot philosophy that America's been governed by, you're going to see more and more people consciously become aware of race, recognizing the differences, not only on a cultural level, but on a racial level. And people will become more and more aware. So there is actually kind of an upside to that. Is with this type of change, it does force people to kind of wake up to what's going on. Now, obviously, it's not going to be everyone, but I'm just letting you know it's that there are positives to this. You have to become aware of the fact that all these different groups here are just not playing the same game. They're looking out for their own, and white people need to start doing the same thing. But one day, hopefully sooner than later, you're going to have to wake up to that. And I think a big part of that is realizing that your leaders in the Republican Party and in the GOP do not give a shit about you. They do not care about you. They really don't. Don't believe the bullshit. Don't believe all these idiots that are saying, trust the plan. You don't understand. It's actually 50D chess. And Trump is actually, he's on it. He's working 38 hours a second. All right? Don't trust those fuckers, man. They're crazy and they're delusional. It is imperative that you become as realistic as possible. And that includes understanding that these people in positions of power that are supposed to be your leaders, that are supposed to look out for you, whether you live in Texas or you live in Florida or wherever, they have failed you. In fact, they have done so willingly. They do not give a shit about you. I say that over and over because it's true. And every time I say that, there's always some idiot who wants to argue about that. So for the time being, I'm going to keep repeating that over and over. And in regards of Texas, what are you going to start seeing? You're going to start seeing the culture completely change. I'm sure it already has in a lot of major cities. I'm sure there are people there that when you go to the grocery store, you start looking around and you get the feeling that you don't live in America. You get the feeling that you don't really live in your own neighborhood. You feel like you're visiting a different country. And you're going to start seeing that all over the place, not just in the grocery stores, but in the theme parks and in the school system and at the football games and at the parades and at the competitions and in your own neighborhood. You're going to start feeling more and more out of place. You're going to start feeling more and more outnumbered. And it's because you are. And that's why it's important for us to start talking about these things now, because the more this goes unnoticed, and by the way, that's engineered. It's not like people are doing this willingly. It is being engineered for you not to notice this shit. But the more it does go unnoticed will lead to the more power they will be able to obtain, the more influence they will be able to gain. It's like you could make an argument that some Indian who was born here could run for Congress or run for local office or whatever, and they could win. Sure, fine, whatever. But a foreign-born, somebody who was born in India, somebody who grew up in India and never even lived here until they were like an adult in certain cases, they can become a judge in America? Really? And I know some idiots watching this and they're saying, oh, Tom, that's actually not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. You're actually a fucking bigot. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like, shut up, dude. You're a cuck, all right? Nobody cares what you have to say. But it's like, really, to the people who are not cucks, who are listening to me now, to the Texans, to the non-Texans, think about it. Do you really see that as a good thing? Somebody who wasn't even raised in this country, wasn't even born here, has a completely different heritage and upbringing, can just come here and become a judge or a mayor of a city? Like, what the fuck are we doing? And in Texas, you're going to slowly start to see it more and more over the next couple of years. It's going to start to turn into India because these people are gaining power. They're gaining influence. They're gaining assets. And they're helping out their own. And you shouldn't be mad at them for that because that's what they should be doing, because that's what groups should do, is they should look out for their own and take care of their own. And that's what white people need to get through their thick fucking skulls. It's not a bad thing. In fact, in times like these, it's actually important for survival, is to take care of your own family. Doesn't mean you have to be some violent maniac, but maybe you should start playing by their rules. Maybe you should start playing their game because they're the ones who are winning. And what's happening over in Texas, what's happening with white Americans all over, we're losing. So there's something to be said. That's some food for thought. But I mean, that's pretty much it. I had to kind of put a spotlight on all this stuff going on in Texas because, dude, there's always something popping up. There's always somebody sending me something in regards to what's going on over there. And it's actually kind of alarming because, like I said, Texas is the forefront of technology at this point. A lot of the aerospace and aviation parts come from there. Like, they make a lot of planes. They're building a lot of technology, including for the military. They have a bunch of military bases there. They control basically the majority of the southern border. So there's a lot of important parts that Texas has and Texas is in control of. And the more and more we start to lose that to these groups, to these Indians, is going to come back and bite us in the ass later on. It just is. So we need to start talking about these things now. We need to become aware. If you know somebody who lives in Texas, please share this video with them, like send it to them so they can see what's going on. And I'm sure they already know. I'm sure most of them have kind of started to figure out what the fuck is going on here, because don't be surprised 5 years from now if you don't have Christmas parades in Texas anymore. You have poop festivals and you have Diwali or whatever the fuck You don't even have Christian churches anymore. You have fucking Vishnu temples or whatever the fuck they do, Hindu temples. They're going to be praying in the streets. And I understand like Islam is a big thing as well. But from what I've seen, and I've done a lot of like kind of research into this shit, it's actually more alarming on the Indian side. Islam stuff with like all the mosques in Texas, that is, you know, still kind of an issue, but it's not even on the same level. And that's another thing. A lot of people will talk about Islam and they'll talk about the mosques, but they don't talk about the Indians. And that's kind of where all this is coming from. You see like the Trump admin banning all these places where people can immigrate from or even, you know, visit from or wherever. And you never see India. You notice that? You see Muslim countries, you see all these third world countries, but you never see India. India's never on there. I wonder why. Could it be there's a conspiracy afoot? Could it be there's some bullshit going on and they're literally selling your country to these people in some way? I mean, they are gaining a lot of power. That is to be said. So that's why I wanted to make this video. That's all I had to really say about it. But what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If so, I would like to hear your opinions below. And if you did enjoy the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said earlier, share this video with a friend. You know, follow me on Rumble. Follow me on X. I'm always on X posting stuff. It's a lot of fun on X. And with Rumble, you guys really have to get on there because I post exclusives on Rumble. In fact, I posted one last week about BlackRock and how the BlackRock CIO is being considered and interviewed by Trump to become the new leader of the Federal Reserve. I don't know if you guys knew about that, but that was something that happened last week. I made a whole video, but it was a Rumble exclusive and it's free. But all you got to do is go over there and follow me on there and you can watch the videos. And you might ask, well, why do you do Rumble exclusives? Well, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay on YouTube forever. And also, even if I do get to stay on YouTube forever, on Rumble, I'm free, dude. I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, and it's awesome. I can talk about anything I want to talk about, and it's awesome. So, yes, we are building a second platform over on Rumble. You're going to get exclusives there. That's just how I'm doing it. And guys, besides the exclusive from last week, oh my gosh, this is kind of like an update for the channel. If you were just here for the Texas stuff, you can click off the video. It's fine. This is just me talking. But guys, oh my gosh, dude. Did I come through for you guys or what? Did I go hard on the collabs last week or what? Like, dude, we did Jay Burden at the beginning of the week. Then we did the founder stream with Nav, which by the way, I have joined Nav, the New America Vision. I'm a part of them now. So you're going to be seeing a whole lot of me over on that channel. I'm going to be going on all the different shows, possibly even some newer shows that they're going to start in the future. So you're going to want to go ahead and check that out. I'm going to have a link in the description as well, and you can subscribe to the channel. Dude, we did that founder stream, and then you guys had been wanting me to do a collab with Right Wing Coalition for like months, and I did a collab with Right Wing Coalition. It was almost 3 hours. And it was a great conversation, dude. A lot of fun. I love everything that guy's doing, man. He's great at what he does. His videos are awesome. And he's writing a book. And we got to talk. So I gave you guys that collab. And then I went back on Nerdporial and I got to hang out with Brian. It was almost like a 5-hour stream. So I had a lot of fun with Brian over there. And then I went back on Nav and I did a stream with them talking about movies and stuff. So another like chill thing. And then what do you guys get after that? The Jimmy Talks collab. So did I come through for you guys or what? Or what? You guys were like, oh man, he did Right Wing Coalition, but you got to do Jimmy. When are you going to do Jimmy? It's like, boom. There's the Jimmy collab. And guess what? For all the people that I did collabs with, every single one of them, which by the way, all of them were awesome. All of them were amazing. It's like they've opened up so many doors and basically all of them, they're like, hey, we want to do more. So you guys are going to get more collabs. You're going to get more with Jimmy. You're going to get more with Right Wing Coalition. You're going to get more with Brian. You're going to get more with Nav. Potentially you're going to get more with Jay Burden. But basically I went off for you guys. And that's why you didn't really get any videos kind of like this last week because I was doing so much other stuff. It was actually crazy. And I have a full-time job. So I was doing all that shit. Like, dude, I was actually like not taking a day off. It was kind of crazy. But I love it. I actually like how you guys have been supportive And to the people who were like shitting on the collabs, like go fuck yourself. Like you don't gotta watch my channel. Like I don't give a shit. Like go subscribe to somebody else. I don't care. I started this not really thinking anything was gonna happen. And not even half a year later, I'm talking to people and I'm collaborating with people who literally inspired me to start doing this channel. So yeah, I might not have the most foolproof plan. I might not have the best work ethic, but what I've been doing has been working. You can't disagree with me on that. You got to give me that at least. So thank you guys so much for the support, the love. It means the world. It really does. And I'm excited for the rest of this year. I'm like invigorated, dude. I'm not worried. I'm not black-pilled. I'm actually ready. I'm ready for the fight. I'm ready for what's to come. I'm prepared. And I hope you guys can be prepared with me. So I can't say it enough. Thank you so much. And with that all being said, like always, guys, Jesus Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords, America first only. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all later.